All right. So, Tanya, what we're talking about today is single people, are successful entrepreneurs who are single and why they're single. So, my perspective on that what I've seen in the last, I don't know, year or so, year and a half, is that there's a lot of single men and women over 40 who are successful in whatever industry that they're in, whether it be a coaching or real estate or mortgage, a couple other examples, just solopreneurs in general, like I was saying. But busy meaning daily, they're out busy, right? I mean, they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. They're getting things done. And they don't seem to have time for relationship. And my research, what I'm trying to understand, because like I said, my opinion might be skewed, is that over 40, we've already experienced either a marriage, or sometimes people have experienced two marriages and or multiple dating. Or really, I had no idea.
I
I'm
get
learning.
married every decade just to find out I still don't like it.
That's awesome. Um, but there's a lot of baggage that comes from marriages and or relationships, right? And so I think we get to a point of I'm busy, I need to focus, I got to get things done. And again, this is my opinion, so that's why I want to have these conversations. I'm busy, I got to get things done. I don't have time to worry about what this other person is doing, thinking, or acting, or anything like that. So I'm just going to go do my thing, right? I got to go to work and this and that. Now, at the same time, I want to get into at the same time, I think humans are made to be with somebody, right? I mean, I think we need connection. I think we need intimacy. I think we need the love, the joy, the happiness that comes with all of that. And I know that's something that I seek, right? And in short, for me, for anybody watching, I was married for 32 years. Right. So I'm divorced now, and we've been separated for 3 years. I dated somebody for about 2 years. So I've been in one relationship for 32 years. And then I really didn't know how to date. Been in
That's
one.
a thing on itself.
Back when I was 21 is when I met my ex-wife. I was 21, and this was in 1990 or 91. So things have changed over the last 32 years as far as
Yes,
dating
they
goes,
have.
perspectives and perceptions and expectation. It really has changed. I learned that over a couple of years. Um, so
And how old you are and the age you're dating. But I
and
mean, that's something too, because at 20, the expectations are different than at 40 or 50 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly right. And at 20, at least in my lifetime, back in those age time, I was lost and in the streets, and so was everybody around me, per se, right? Nightclubs and bars and all that type of thing. So I'm a whole different person today, just as you've mentioned. We are, as we age, mature, I should say. uh,
Hopefully.
but yeah, but what I'm seeing, and then I'll let you give me your perception from here, or your perspective, is that single people over 40 who are into a career or starting a new business or whatever it is don't want to find the time to deal with relationship. And to me, that's a negative. Like, it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't have to be like, because I'm feeling that way right now. I shouldn't be like, I don't want to get into it. I have to figure out who you are and what your baggage is, and we have to figure out. And I don't have the time and energy for that. I have things to do. So that's what I've personally noticed. I'm going to interview like 4 or 5 people and get their perspective, men and women, because it's not just one sided, right? So
Yeah, well, it's
I'm
different
happy
too.
to hear whatever you have to say and your experiences.
Well, and so your audience knows I'm actually a sex and relationship expert too. So this will give you
Okay,
a lot
okay.
of perspective, not just from my personal experience, because I've had a lot of experience, but so statistically, single women are the happiest people in the world. So
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
married men, second happiest. Parents are the least happiest,
Okay, hold on. Single women, the happiest,
right?
statistically.
Yep, married men,
Married men, the
yep,
happiest.
the second happiest.
The
So
second
single
happiest.
women, married men, then it drops down to single men, and then it drops down to parents.
Interesting. Wow.
So let's
Just those first two do say something, and without even ever researching that, it makes sense. Because like I had just mentioned, I want to be in a relationship. I want to be
yeah,
married. I think that's
yeah.
fulfilling for a man. So go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, so men, so what that proves out, and especially if women have been in relationships and they're over 40, many women stop being in relationships.
Hmm.
They just don't want to caretake anybody anymore. They're
Hmm.
like done with that. They're like, I have freedom. I can do what I want to do. And
Yeah.
so that idea of freedom. Now I've been in a lot of relationships. I'm 63. So I've
Hmm.
been in a lot of relationships. And in the last 7 years, I have not. I have been, the majority of my 7 years has been celibate, which is weird because I'd never gone more than 3 weeks without sex before that. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah.
And my sex drives through the roof, so it's not about that. But it definitely is about the fact for me, not that there's not time, because I've only worked part-time since I was 30. So like my schedule's my own. But what it is that I act differently when I'm in a relationship than when I'm single, and it affects how I make decisions about business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So because I am in business, I'm a masculine energy force.
Mm-hmm.
And in relationship, I'm totally opposite. It surprises everybody that knows me because they think I'm such a, like, you've seen
Yeah,
me, you know how I
yeah,
am.
yeah.
And yet in a relationship, I'm definitely more in my feminine. And when I'm in that space, I actually care about what my relationship thinks about things I'm doing, business decisions. And so what I noticed is when I'm single, I make really great money. When
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a relationship, I tend to, one, unless, even if they're making more, which I very rarely dated anybody that I've always made more.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to start listening to their input. And if it's against, I don't want to be in a conflict or in competition or make my man feel bad. And so that's my baggage. So that has nothing to do with whether it's time or whatever. But I have talked to plenty of women that feel exactly the same way, that somehow the man in their life feels like they have some type of, say in what's going on, or they'll put, men want to fix things, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I might be complaining about something that's going on, and my man's like, blah, da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh, and because I respect him, I'm going to listen to him instead of going, shut the hell up. You don't know anything about what I'm talking about here. But I date really smart men who have businesses. But
Okay, so that's extremely interesting because the 75% of that, I've experienced the exact same thing. I'm not worried about if, she's making more money or I'm making more money or whatever that part is. However, when I'm in and I've had one relationship outside of my 32-year marriage. So I'm inquiring because, and it's interesting because everything you're talking about with being single for as long as you've been, or different relationships you've talked about. I've had one relationship and I've learned or experienced, I should say, exactly what you said in this one relationship. And it is because we dated for about 2 years. And I really enjoyed her. I loved her. I mean, I wanted to be ongoing. I wanted to be married and the whole thing. Like I said, I'm not interested in bars and dating and trying to figure women out. And I think that's why this even conversation comes up. It's like, so what do I do now? Like, I don't want to go and meet somebody and figure out over the next 3 months if I want to date this person or not, and then go find another one. I just don't want to do that. Anyhow, what I experienced, exactly what you said, for whatever reason, while I'm dating this woman, my income goes down. It just literally it almost stops, right? And then as soon as we separate, because we've broken up over the 2 years, probably, I don't know, a lot, but probably like long term, up to 2 to 3 months, maybe 3 times. And during those 3 months, and including like right now, everything just starts to flourish. Everything is different, and I'm in a different energy, and I'm good, and I'm talking to people, and I'm out and about, and I'm doing, and I say out and about, I mean business wise. I'm shaking people, meeting people, and that type of thing, and things start moving. But as soon as I get, and then I feel good, right? I feel good. I'm back on track. And so was she. I'm assuming over those 2 months that we're apart or whatever it is. And then we go, man, we feel so good. I understand what we did wrong. Let's try again. And then everything goes right back down. And it's not a hit on her at all. It really, it's my energy. It's her energy when we're apart. And the difference in her and I also is I was married for all that time and I dated her only, but she was single for 10 years. So she had dated, right?
Yeah.
So she understands the dating world a little bit more. And she had told me a couple of times, if I'm going to struggle or if I'm going to not be happy, I'd rather just do it on my own. Like I'll just be myself.
Absolutely.
Like I don't need a man to struggle, or I don't need a man to battle. Like I'll just be on my own, and I can do that kind of stuff on my own, right? And a lot of this stuff, like I'm learning, but it's just interesting because she even told me too, and because we would have conversations. I would ask her, why does business slow down when we're together? I don't understand why the business slows down, because she also wanted to be part of my business, which I was happy with, but things just still didn't work. And she even said, it's your energy. She said, your energy is different when you're with me. And so I kind of analyze that. You know me too, from the
Yeah.
stuff we talked about. I'm very analytic. I analyze myself. I'm able to look at
Yeah.
myself in the mirror and go, "What are you doing? Like, what's happening?" Right? And be able to check it out. So I started to kind of pay attention to my energy when she's not just around, but just together
Yeah.
with. And I did notice that I talked to women differently, right? Because I'm worried about what she's going to think, how I'm talking to these women, right?
Yeah. And
And
whether that's conscious or
yeah,
subconscious, it's still there, right? Yeah.
exactly, it's still there. And I tried to pay attention to that, or I was paying attention to that, because what I started to look at is, am I flirting with this woman? Business. When I'm talking business,
Oh,
am
got
I
it.
flirting? Am I flirting with this woman? And I would pay attention and I'd go, I'm not flirting, but I still feel like I have to be not so friendly. And I don't know if that makes sense or not. Like,
Yeah, sure. Of
I
course.
don't want it to come across like I'm flirting, so I'm talking a certain way. But what happened is, and I don't know if you and I talked about this or not in the past, but people started coming to me, women more specifically, and saying, "You've become very transactional." And I thought about it, and I go, "Well, I'm not a transactional person. I'm a person. You know my
Yeah.
story. People to
Yeah.
share their story and get your message out there and work and share." But so that's not a transactional thing for me. But I think because when I was in this relationship, I didn't want to come across too friendly or flirting or anything
Yeah.
like that. All of a sudden, I became very transactional in the
Right.
way that I spoke. Like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" That's a, that type of thing.
So then that would be different than when you were married, because when you were married, either there was something energetically different that allowed you to be more
Yeah,
natural.
yeah.
Call
I
it natural.
I think so. Maybe because, and I hadn't even thought about that one, but maybe because my ex-wife, when I was married, she wasn't involved in my business at all. Like, she didn't,
Mhm.
she
Right
had her
here.
own thing going. She wasn't involved. She didn't even care. She was like, "Go do your thing," right?
Yeah.
So with the relationship I was in, she was very involved in my business, and I was happy to, I mean, I'm not against it at all. But
It changes everything though.
it changed the way I, even if
Yeah.
subconsciously is the right word, communicated with people, right?
Yeah.
It really did.
Yeah.
And the concern of, is my other half happy? Is she this? Is she that? I mean, all these things while I'm
Right.
out and about, because there were times where I could have went to meetings or something, or events, excuse me, I could have went to meetings or events that she couldn't attend, so I wouldn't go. And that also was a decrease in business, because
Absolutely.
you know this, you go to one event and you meet one person, it could be a client, right? I mean, you meet
Yeah.
10 people, two of them are clients, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So, and that was, I think that was a little bit difference in, or something that for me to learn in my new dating world, right, per se, because she was a little bit jealous. So I had to be aware of
Well,
that too. I had to be aware of
that's
that.
what I'm saying. Yeah. So that right there, if
Yeah.
that insecurity on her end made it be you had to like button up on your end,
Mm-hmm.
it changes so that even that dynamic of trusting yourself, now you're second guessing yourself based on the same. I mean, I think the key we're having here is the majority of the problems I have were when men that because my dream was always working with my partner.
Oh, okay.
That was my dream,
Yeah.
working in some regard, whether they were my tech or something that, because it's like working from home. It's like you get to be together and
Yeah.
all of that. And I'm thinking about the men that were not involved in anything were a lot less issues. Like I made lots of money. I made my first million. I was with somebody, but they had nothing to do with my business.
Yeah.
So to me, it was the times when I wanted to marry those two things that stuff started really getting.
Wow. Super cool. This is a great conversation. I'm glad I put this out there, because everything we're talking about, I did experience. So it's not, I don't know what I expected. I mean, I just expected to learn and see what other people's perspective was, but everything you've mentioned is what I experienced. And so it's like, oh, okay, so it's not uncommon. And you know my story. I always talk about how I had those three questions: why do I do what I
Right.
do, act the way I act, and feel the way I feel? And then when I found it in the psychology book, my thing was, oh, if it's in this book, it's not just me. It's millions of people are asking
Yeah,
these questions. So
exactly.
for you to basically have experienced the exact same thing that I've just experienced, I'm like, well, I'm thinking the same thing. Okay, it's not just me. Like
No.
it's
Yeah.
common. Now, going back, this is great. I appreciate you. Going back to the original reason I wanted to do these interviews is single people, successful single people with businesses, right? Or CEO job levels or whatever it
Yeah.
is. Why do they choose to be single? Now, the things we've talked about right now seem common, at least between you and I, and I'm assuming many other people too,
Right.
right?
I've
Because
talked with lots of
we're in
people.
different parts of the United States and everything else. But with that said, here's the question, is that why? Because those are challenges, right? Those are challenges and baggage that we're talking about. They're not like things, they're external, I would say. They're
Yeah.
not internal things, right? Because internally, everything, if we really take our breath and understand who we are and that type of thing, we're light, we're joy, and none of that should matter. So what we're talking about is the external and the influence of society and or conditioning, right? Our upbringing and conditioning is what is affecting these relationships. Now, so the question is, are the things we've talked about are that? The question is that really why these people who are successful and business entrepreneurs are not dating? Because if it is, that's sad, because they're not dating, or they're not in a relationship for an unvalid reason, in my opinion.
Well, I think there's other things too. And what you brought up originally was time. So,
Mhm.
though I have time, I really have to ask. So, this is recently, I turned down a guy who's like qualified. Let's call him qualified. I don't believe in the high value, whatever talk stuff, qualified, right?
Mhm.
And I realized that I didn't have any motivation.
Mhm.
Like, I really, if I asked myself, and he's like, well, let's meet. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Because
Mhm.
on paper, that, yeah, there's
Yeah.
no reason, right?
Yeah.
And then when it came down to like, oh, so then I'd have to like leave the house, get dressed. Well, it's so funny. But I mean, literally, this is what I'm thinking in my
Yeah.
mind. And then so I asked myself, why am I unmotivated? Well, the other thing is I get real lot of joy from what I'm doing, and I'm
Mhm.
in the thick of all sorts of cool stuff.
Mhm.
So that means, will this person, I think we get more after 40 or 50, we've been through some stuff. We get pickier too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Will this enhance my life? Taking time away from what I'm doing
Mhm. Mhm.
actually enhance something. So if you're not desperate, if you're dating out of desperation, loneliness, so you have to ask why you're dating,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
lack of sex, whatever it is. So if you have to have somebody, it's different than if you don't have to have somebody. You're going
Mhm.
to have different parameters. If you have to have somebody, you're just going to dive out there and you're going to figure out how to make a time. You're going to make a mess because you don't. I have time, but is it an enhancement of my life?
Mhm.
And so when
Mhm.
the guy asked me, and when I finally said no, he goes, well, I thought we were going to meet. And I'm like, I know, my apologies if you felt like I led you on that.
Mhm.
And he goes, can I ask you why?
Mhm.
And usually I'm like, my no is a no. I don't know why a man who I just said no to wants to know why, but he's cool. I'm like, all right. And I told him, I said, this sounds horrible. I just don't see how this enhances my life.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And I said, you're cool. You're funny. You make me laugh. All these things are great. But the reality is, once I start down this path, then we're going to be like, okay, I travel, you travel, this house. Now becomes strategic. Now you're in my mind. Now
Yeah.
you're taking up space, whether it's good or bad, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're living in my sphere. And I have created this beautiful, simplistic, minimalistic life that allows me freedom that is unbelievable,
Yeah.
and making a ton of money while I'm free. Now there's I mean, my daughter's in college. I don't have any pets. Like, literally, I don't have to ask anybody about anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is why single women are so happy.
Mhm.
So, because they don't have that space anymore. So, there it is then for me. Now, that's not for everybody.
Right.
You say time. I don't want to get to meet some, but that's what you're talking about, it really.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, because it was the beginning of a conversation and learning and growing and understanding. Because I understand what you just said in regards to, is this going to enhance my life, and just the energy of going to meet somebody, because there are people that reach out to, there are women that reach out to me, right? And I mean, especially with social media, everybody has somebody DMing them and all that kind of stuff all the time, right? And I'll get into really good conversations too, like you're saying, great conversations, because I'm very like I'm always studying the spiritual and the realms and quantum physics and all these things, and there's not a whole lot of people that can have that conversation. So when I meet somebody, especially if it's a woman that has that's able to have that conversation, I go, oh wow, you get that? Okay, yeah, let's talk. Like we start to have the conversation. But then when it comes time, like you said, to if and or to meet, or even to think about meeting, it's like, okay, now what? Like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen next? And like you're saying, I use the word time, but really, maybe it's more of, okay,
Energy. It's
is there
energy.
value here? Like
Yeah.
Am I going to go meet you and take you out to dinner and sit down and chat and have some wine and do all of this fun stuff? And then, once or twice, and all of a sudden it's just like, nah, I don't think so. And that's where I think I use the word time. Like, it's a waste. Is that a waste of time?
Yeah.
Right. We
It's all
don't know.
resources. It's all resources.
It's
Mental
resources.
resources,
I,
all of
I,
it.
I think more than anything for me, it's the energy. And that, I guess that's a resource too, right?
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's the energy of it. But again, it's how if you are interested in getting into a relationship, and a lot of people are, right? If you are interested in being in a relationship and getting married and the whole thing, then you have to do it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to do it. So I
Yeah.
guess what it comes down to is being ready. And like you said, why? Why are you going into this relationship? Are you just lonely? Or why? What is the reason?
Might be better to just buy it transactionally, quite frankly. I mean, look, you told me somebody asked me my why, and I said, well, I want a harem because
Yeah.
I've decided maybe that's like less effort. I put out an application, I have a few phone calls, met some people, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm an outside the box thinker, so I will
That's,
examine everything there is to
yeah.
examine, but everything's a resource.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Energetic, financial, doesn't matter. It's all a resource, right? And
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
does that, whatever resource you're going to put out in the world, and I even said real estate in my head,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I
Yeah.
get up in the morning. So when I just interacting with this guy a few times, I'd wake up in the morning and think, oh, and I'd look at my text.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's not my normal thing to do in the morning. My normal thing to do in my morning is or oh,
Yeah.
we're laughing, and I only have a half an hour, but we get on and it's fun and we're having a great time. Now I've burned up an hour and a half, 2 hours. Yes, I've had fun,
Yeah.
but now I've been up too late. I'm tired and whatever,
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it all has
Yeah.
that tied to it. So if relationship is your goal, then basically your business, now you're looking at my relationship, my business, energy, resources. How do you prioritize those?
Yeah.
Which one? And it used to be that men would get taken down for prioritizing their business over their relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Decades of women. That's why a lot of women get divorced. You're never available. It's always about your business, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I used to get that as somebody running a big business. The guys would go like, you just don't seem to have all the time that I need. And I'm like, dude, if you need that much time, yeah, I'm not your person.
Yeah.
So maybe it's dating,
Mm-hmm.
but here's what I'm saying. We assume that dating, if it goes well, goes down a particular ladder. It's dating, now it's relationship, now it's living together or getting married,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But what if it's just dating? What if
Mm-hmm.
it's, whether it's friends with benefits, I'm not into that, but let's say people are,
Yeah.
whether it's we see each other once a week, we have a great time. Sometimes we go on a weekend vacation or we do stuff. So if it didn't have to have the progression, so maybe if we take some of the paradigm or the constraints off, we could get all the needs met.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like it. And I think also, just kind of going back, it is dependent on what the individual is seeking. And so, like, everything you just mentioned can be perfect for somebody, right?
Yeah.
But that person could not meet somebody who says, well, I do want to get married and I want to
Right.
live, right?
Exactly.
So you have to find the one that matches. And what I've noticed also is, and this is not all, I mean, I haven't talked to a million women, right? I've dated one, but the people that I have met and had these discussions with, a lot of women over 40 are looking for marriage. So as soon as they meet a man, what they're thinking is, can I marry this guy? Is he marriage material? And I don't want to date unless I know we're going to that path. And there's nothing wrong with that either if they find the man that wants that.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Right.
But what I found in and let me say this. So I got separated 3 years ago. I dated this girl for about 2 years. And I say she's the only one I've ever dated, and it is. However, let me go back. I did separate with my wife, my ex-wife, 5 or 6 years previous to this divorce, right? And I did date one girl, but it was only for a couple of months. But I did notice and she was very, I noticed, she said it. That's how I noticed.
That's I noticed. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. She was very much so. I'm not interested in just dating. I want to get married. Like she said it
Right.
straight up. And at that time, I was like, I just met you. I mean, she was like within 2 weeks, like, hey, I want to get married. I'm
Yeah.
like, I just met you. Like, I don't, no, 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 no. Like, she scared the heck out of me, and I ran basically. But interestingly enough, and I'm not saying that to women now, but that is in my mind because I do want to be married,
Yeah.
right? And I don't want to date until I
Yeah.
find one. So when I met this girl I was dating, and I've told you, for me, she was incredible. I did
Yeah.
want to long term with her. But I do remember when I met her, she kind of said the same thing. She said, I'm not interested in just dating. But she wasn't like, I want to get married right now.
Right.
She
Yeah.
was like, I want to, I need to know if you're a man that I think that I can have a long term with.
Yeah.
So, and we got along really well. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I think the challenge, I don't want to say the challenge, the difference in that is because she had been single for a while and had dated a few people, she had the baggage from each one, right? I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like this, I don't like that from these different men. And then she had an expectation from me of what she wanted from all of these men combined in one person. And this is just my view, kind of my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
Here's my expectation based on what I've learned from these people that I've dated. So you have to be just like this, right?
Yeah.
So if I was any time a little bit out of that, it was like, wait, nope, 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 that's not okay, right?
Yeah.
And because I had dated in so long, I'd been married for so long, I was still literally, and I would say this, I'm trying to figure out, wait, am I right? Or or are you right about what you're talking about? Because I didn't know. And I used to say, I don't know how to date. I'm sorry. I really don't. And she didn't believe me. She was like, no, everybody knows how to date. And I'm like, I
No,
don't.
that's not true.
It's
Even
not
people
true.
that date a lot don't know how to date. So
Yeah.
I mean, like, just I want to spare you this right now. As somebody who's dated a lot,
Yeah.
in fact, 1 month I went on 150 dates. I was doing some data. I'm a nerd, right? So,
Yeah.
and I clicked, like data collecting. And because what I wanted to do was not waste anybody's time. So literally, if somebody sat down and I was like, this was before video stuff and all, I would just be like, you looked at me like you're not sure. I'm not feeling sure either. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Have a
wow.
great.
Well,
And
yeah.
they're like, say what? No, I'm not trying to convince you or challenge you. I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
not there. Let's just cut to the chase, move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So dating is interesting, but one of the things that you're saying that I appreciate is that the after 40 people get a little bit more real too.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like I'm looking and straight up, like if you want to get married, I think you should be saying that within the first few dates.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
not saying I want to marry you, but I am looking for somebody to marry
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because let's like, let's stop playing games and let's like get serious. And you're in that space. I'm in the other space where I'm like, I don't know that I want to be tied down to anybody where I have to ask them or tell them, by the way, I'm moving to India or like that. And so
Yeah.
that's my big problem. Do I want somebody to cuddle with, have sex with? So, sure, absolutely. Do I want somebody that now I put them in my decision making row?
Mm.
Because my daughter, I don't have to. She's 21, whatever. If I decide I want to move to Thailand next week, she's like, hey, have a great time.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody in that space. Now, all of a sudden, if I'm in a relationship,
Hmm.
that affects that. Now I got to do that. So
Yeah.
my value then, even
Mhm.
though I want these other things, is freedom.
Yeah. No, I experienced that piece of it too. My kids, for the most part, are all grown and married. I have one 17-year-old. But he's 17, he has his car, and he's never around anyway.
Yeah,
I,
right. Yeah, they're
I
not.
called him today and I said, hey, let's go hiking, man. And he's
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm available on Sunday. I'm like, what is this? Like
yeah,
a setting or like what's going on? Right.
yeah.
But she had two underage, and they were teenagers too. I think just recently 13 and 17, that's their age group. And she did split them with her ex-husband halftime. But it became that where like, hey, let's go here. Oh, I can't. The kids. Okay,
Yeah.
oh, let's go here. Oh, I can't. I can't. Let's go here. I can't. So then, I mean, it did kind of change from when, and this doesn't even have to be about that specific relationship. I think it's more common, but it went from when we first meet somebody to let's go here, let's go there. Yeah, 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 yeah. Because we're so excited to meet and
Right.
talk to each other. We used to fly around and do all kinds of fun stuff. And then all of a sudden it turned into, oh, I can't. Oh, I can't. Oh, I can't. Oh, I
Right.
can't.
Because you spend yeah, you can't,
Yeah.
you've got, so then you're talking about business,
Yeah.
kids,
Mm-hmm.
family, right? And other
Right.
things. So the older we are, the more relationship types of pieces of the puzzle are
Mhm.
may be flying around.
Yeah.
Or somebody says, well, I want to live here. Well, I've got a house here. And I'm like, well, let's
Yeah.
move to Thailand. Because I have simplified. Like, I don't, the stuff I own, I can walk away and let somebody else handle it all.
Yeah.
So, like, literally, I can decide,
Yeah.
no, I'm a digital nomad now. So, like,
Yeah.
throw my backpack on, head out, not come back to the States, whatever. Don't have like, and, I'm dating somebody who's got, if I was dating this last guy, he owns places in 3 different countries, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's 2 businesses. He's highly successful, but we'd be doing this. So, he's going to Iceland for this. He's going to here to that. He's like, well, I could slip you into my life over here. And I'm like, slip me into your life. Well, I am not sure I want to try to slip you into mine.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might be in a tent. Like
Yeah.
literally, you're coming to the States. That's cool. I'm actually in a tent somewhere or in my RV out in the middle of nowhere with my Starlink,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You want to come boondock with me? Awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So
I found myself in the same position that you are right now. And I don't know that I did it purposely. But like I had moved, like I said, I've been dating in this relationship for 2 years, but I lived up north and she lived down south. And when we really did decide, like, okay, we want to have a lifetime together, one of us had to move, right? The other one.
right, and there's
Had
that, right.
So, I had a three-story townhome furniture, and I didn't have a ton of furniture. I'm a guy. I have just a little bit of stuff. Right? I have a lot. One couch, one TV, a bed, and
Right.
not a whole lot, but I had, my place was furnished. If I think I had more furniture in my office than anywhere else. But but I got rid of everything. I mean, I sold my desk, I sold everything that I had, and I put it
Right.
literally my car I have a big car, so everything fit in my car. And I drove down to SoCal. And so when we broke off, it was the same thing. I just put everything in my car and decided. I mean, I was like, it was really interesting because I was like, well, where do I want to live? Like I could go anywhere that I want to go. I was like, should I live in San Diego? Should I go back to Northern California? Maybe I should move to Cancun for a year. I'm just like trying to decide, where do I want to go? And I ended up coming back up north because my son is here and he likes to train, and I like to train with him and stuff like that.
Right.
But I'm still in a place where, like, I can do whatever I want. Like, I can
I
go
know.
wherever I want to go, and I'm trying to figure that one out. So again, it's not like I didn't do that by choice, but all of a sudden I have this freedom to do whatever I want. So
Right.
it's an
And I
interesting.
think the freedom. So I work with a lot of men who've been in long-term relationships and they get out of them,
Mm.
and they're new to the dating world. So I got to like educate them about that. It's like, then they're like surprised that all these women want them. And I'm like, yeah, don't have sex with everybody just cause, so there's a thing
Yeah,
that they go through when they
yeah,
realize they're so attractive to other people. But it's always about what is your value? If your value is you need to get your financial like freedom, because
mm,
not every business owner is in a position where literally they don't have to work,
yeah,
right? They're making passive income.
mm,
They don't have to do the grind,
yeah, yeah,
right? So maybe that priority is different. But if you don't know what your priorities are, like for me, clearly freedom is above physical contact
mhm,
and being with somebody,
yeah,
right? So I
yeah,
think it's important to know, because if you just think you want to date or you think you want to be with somebody, you're actually dragging somebody else into potentially
mhm,
these priorities of their life and yours. And you're going to have to, the older you are, you're going to have to match these up.
yeah,
Somebody else, one of you's retired, the other one's working 60 hours a week.
mm,
Like,
mm.
seriously, I don't care how much you like somebody. Is that a great recipe?
Right, right, yeah, yeah,
And so we tend to go out and fall in like, and then figure out
yeah,
the other crap, because that's what I did my whole life.
yeah, yeah,
Now I know what I want, and it's got to fit into that parameter,
mhm,
which is very different in dating. I don't care how much I am attracted to somebody, how much I like them, how great, all that. If it's not fitting into this thing,
mhm.
it's a no-go.
It's a no-go. Yeah. Interesting. It really is. I'm curious to see people who watch this, what their feedback is. If people who are, and I mean, I'm in our age group, I'd say over 40, right? Over
Right.
40. Because there's a lot of, I don't know if synchronicities is the right word, but just in this conversation, and then, a few other people that I've talked to, and it's still, I want to go back because I don't know if I'm clear on the answer to the original question, or if there's even one answer to the original question. And it is, why does it seem the people that I'm meeting, men and women, that are successful business owners, right? That have stuff to do every day. That, and I said time, but that kind
Yeah.
of shifted in this thing we're talking about. Why they don't spend the time maybe or take the time to get into a relationship. And I think a combination of everything that we've kind of talked about, because everybody's different, right? We've talked about a few different personalities and perceptions and wants and that type of thing. But I feel like, and I might be wrong, and that's why I want to interview a few more people on this too, is I feel like it is an energy and a time thing where we're looking at the other person and we're going, wow, you seem, like you said, you seem so nice and you're friendly and wow, you're attractive and you're a
Yeah.
go-getter and all these things. But is the energy I'm going to put out we're going to put out to see if we can make it, is it worth spending that energy, right? There's the question there. And I think a lot of people are saying, no, it's not. Like, I don't even want to spend the energy because
Yeah.
I don't know. And I do remember this with this woman that I dated. In the beginning, she was clear. She told me, she says, I'm looking for the A, B, and C. Like, very clear. I want this, this, and this, right? And I was like, okay. But and when I say red flag, I mean this one not in a negative, but if there was a flag for both of us that should have shown up real quick, like, hey, is her
Mm-hmm.
three things that she was looking for were not the three things that I was looking
Well,
for.
that's what I was talking when I
Yeah.
just said priorities.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. So it's like one of those things that if we're not clear, it's not really that. I think all of us would make the time if we knew what our values and priorities were and
Mhm.
somebody else aligned with them,
Yeah.
because I think that then that would be something. But I think the thing about being over 40 and over 50 is we're not motivated by the same things
Hmm.
unless we have baggage we really need to fix, like
Yeah.
external validation. Oh, look, I'm not single, I'm loved. If I needed external validation, I'd be dating,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I'd be with somebody whether it worked or not. That
Yeah.
was clearly in my early years. So I think part of that is we're getting more clear
Hmm.
about what we want to need.
Hmm.
We're more clear that we have limited time. Like how much older am I than you? I'm 63. So I saw something recently that said a woman over 50 only has 26 years left. Uh,
Mm. Yeah.
that would mean I have 13 if I were average, but I'm not average. So I got
Yeah.
more than that. But, so you start like realizing how valuable your time is and how you
Yeah.
don't want to spend it doing stupid stuff that
Yeah.
you may have done when you were younger because you needed somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, right, more self assurance, more confidence, less external validation, more targeted understanding of yourself. And yeah, so I mean, I think there's a lot going there. We're not as motivated by having to be with somebody. Maybe we're fulfilled by other things. And society also isn't saying you got to do all this stuff to get married. Like when you're younger, it's constantly pressure to
Yeah.
achieve something.
I've only seen the commercials, so I don't say this to be fact, but maybe that's why like those eHarmony type sites work, because you're actually feeling stuff out, right? And it's like an assessment of who you are, and then it goes, oh, this person would be a match for you, and literally saying, nope, this one's not, this one's not, this one's not, based on what you're looking for, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's so funny because no one of the questions, I cannot use eHarmony because I'm so outside the box. I can't answer to any of those questions. It's like
That's
the
hilarious.
biggest
Yeah,
waste of time.
I've never looked at it. Funny enough, and this is kind of even a side note, but I mean, many years ago, I remember checking the mail, and there was an eHarmony thing for my wife that came in, and I was like, "What
Of
is this?"
what?
Like,
Oh,
did you fill this out? Like, what is this? Right? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I said, "Well, how did they get your name?" So she was curious back a long time ago too. She was looking around.
I mean, like in dating isn't like you said also, like if you meet somebody in the wild, that's what I call out in the wild. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're down to the online dating or hoping somebody else. And there are people like I know a woman who runs this very successful matchmaking company. And and she has really good success because she really digs deep into like what's the big deal, what is your deal,
Yeah.
what do you really want.
Hmm.
Most of us get desperate, we're lonely, and we start settling
Hmm. Hmm.
you
Or
know
hoping, right? I mean, you hear this a lot too, where women think, "Oh, I can fix him. I can fix him. I can
oh
fix
my,
him."
well, women, yeah, women's favorite thing, because we were born to, I know women will hate me if you're a feminist, you're going to hate what I'm about to say, but biologically, we were created to raise children, have children, and raise them.
Yeah.
And we make the mistake of throwing our men into that category
Mhm.
because we see potential and we're created to raise potential. We're like, and I tell every woman, if you look at a man and you think, wow, he's awesome. And if it was like this, as soon as you say, and if this or if only that,
Yeah.
it's time to break up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
men
Yeah.
were created to not change and women were created to change. Men get with women and hope they never change. Women pick men and hope they change everything about them. So
Yeah.
it's
That's
kind of crazy.
that's funny. And we learn by looking back, right? I always quote Steve Jobs too. You could connect the dots looking back, not looking forward, right? So
Yeah.
looking back at the relationship that I just came out of, with all the incredible love and fun that it was. I do remember in the very beginning, because I was pretty broken after 32 years of marriage and getting divorced, right? I remember after dating for a few months, even it wasn't even that long. After a few months, I remember feeling like this isn't going to work, but it was an internal, it was a me thing, right? Like a fear
Yeah.
thing. No, I can't do this. I'm screwed up right now, and this type of thing. I mean, I told her I'm screwed up. I don't know what about love. I don't know about dating. I can see this is not going to work. And she was like, no, it'll be okay. You're okay. And she was trying to fix it already. Looking back, I can see that, right? And funny enough, when we ended things, one of the things she did say, she goes, "You're more broken than I thought you were."
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so sorry. What a horrible thing to say to
No,
somebody. To
I'm not even saying that as a shot, not as a
no,
shot. Not
I
at all, because I just think there were some things we worked through, so many things for both of us. If we were both here but different in our own
yeah,
issues,
yeah.
we both just grew and grew, and we were able to look at things and go, here's why this happened. I get it. I learned from it. Here's why this happened. I get it. And we grew so much.
Oh, well, that's good then.
Yeah, but there was,
If you left each other better than you found each other,
oh,
that's a win.
yeah,
That's always a
we are both different people, and we acknowledge that for each other. Like, man, we are completely different people. But there are some things that I don't want to say some. I think one or two things that I still carry from my
win.
childhood and trauma and all those types of
Yeah,
things. And it
yeah.
wasn't necessarily relationship portion of it, but just things like I have, and I'll be very transparent here. Um, I know when I separated from my ex-wife, my son, even though he's a teenager, I saw that my feelings of abandonment when I was a kid by my
Mhm.
father, I thought he was feeling that way, but he wasn't, because I was still in his life. I never
Right. You were
left.
projecting that.
I
Yeah.
was projecting that. So like I would get really like down, and sometimes I would even cry. I'd be broken, like, "Oh, son, are you okay? I love you." And I remember he'd stand there, look at me. So I'd go knock on the door, I'd be, "Son, are you
Yeah.
okay?" And he'd just stand there, look at me. He'd be like, "Dad, nothing's
Are
wrong."
you
Like,
okay, Dad?
yeah, like, "Are you okay? Like, nothing's wrong." And I remember, like, even another time, like I was going to pick him up, and he was walking home from school. This was before he had his car. He was walking home from school, and I saw him walking down the street, and it broke me, because I
Oh,
remember I remember being alone, walking down the street in the middle of the night, just by myself, just being broken and lost. So that I projected that onto him, and he was like, "I'm coming home from school. Like, what are you talking? I'm walking home. Like, stop, right?" So that type of thing, I know I still carry here and there with me, and even, like,
yeah.
I was living in SoCal with her, and then he was up here, so I felt that, but it
Right.
wasn't real. I felt that, and that's, I think, what she was talking about. Like you have to fix that. Like, you have to fix that, because
Yeah.
bring me down, and I guess it would affect our relationship
Of
because
course.
I was
Yeah.
carrying this stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's she meant. I didn't take it as a shot, like a bad thing, and
Yeah.
a hard
Yeah.
insult, because I am, like I had mentioned, I do have the ability to look at myself and go, wait a second,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
right. Like, you're
Yeah.
right. You know what I mean?
But I think it's pretty telling on her calibration though too, because here's something I want to say, and I think every man and woman needs to hear this. I was just telling my daughter this the other day. Men are not as emotionally resilient as women are.
Mm,
The wounds that men carry from their mother being disappointed in them the first time,
mm,
their first heartbreak and rejection, they literally carry their entire lives.
mm. Say it again. Say it
Yeah.
again.
Men, not as emotionally resilient as women are. They are just not. They carry their wounds way more personally, way
Mhm.
deeper.
Okay.
So the first time their mother is disapproving of them
Mm,
as a little boy,
mm.
they're still wearing that
Wow.
all through their
Yeah.
relationships. The first
Mhm,
time they get rejected by somebody they're interested in,
mhm,
even if it's a mild rejection, like, no, I don't want to go to the dance with you.
Yeah.
they're really into them,
Hmm.
they're carrying that at 50.
Yeah.
And so there are some wounds, especially around men, that go deep. And I told my daughter, because she said her new guy that she's interested in doesn't know if he's over his ex. And I'm like, it's his first love. He will never be over that.
Oh, wow.
Does
Yeah.
not mean he
Hmm.
can't go on to love.
Yeah.
But the expectation that he somehow got over that first major love is ludicrous.
Wow.
So little boys need 6 times the hugs that girls need when they're growing up to build emotional maturity and resilience. And we don't realize that. And I just think I work with lots of men in the relationship and sex space, and we just don't understand that men carry these wounds way deeper in a lot different ways than women do.
Hmm.
And I think men need to give themselves a little bit more grace
Hmm.
around this and just be aware of that, that you're
Yeah.
actually carrying that and you're walking in with that. And that, yeah, those things run. Women love their first love, yeah, absolutely, but women are so much more emotionally resilient. They're supposed to be because of child rearing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Men are
Yeah.
supposed to not change the neural pathways because they got to go out to hunt, they got to leave their family behind, they compartmentalize in a way that women don't.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
that stuff lives in there, and it's very effective. I mean, it's affecting everything.
I,
So little break, a little grace for yourself, and the
yeah.
understanding that, yeah, it's real.
That's good. I'm glad that you're coaching men on that, because what I was going to say in regards to what you just said, my response is that a lot of men, if they're carrying that, like what you understand in your coaching, a lot of times until we actually seek, we don't know that what's stopping us, right? We have to understand that we're conditioned by all of these experiences that we have. We have to understand that outside of like regular therapy, just talking to somebody, there's subconscious things that, NLP, and there's all these
Yep.
different processes and things that we can go through to bring them out and go, wait a minute, this is bothering me. I had no idea. Right? My
Yeah.
story. I never knew I had a childhood trauma. It's trauma.
Because it's normal for you. Like
But
that
I
was
didn't
your
know.
role.
Yeah, I didn't know till I was like thinking in my 30s that, I was shown like, this is what happened. This is why. And it's like, oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah,
So I think it's important for all people, but we're talking about like men this second. If we are carrying those things, to get some help and to reach out and understand these things, I've written my book, and then I rewrote Heal the Boy and the Man Will Appear. And sometimes I forget how powerful that story is. I get people calling me, randomly reaching out to me. Hey, I found you. I read your book, and this, and all these things. And I'm just like, it really makes me feel good. That's an intrinsic thing, a fulfillment thing. When people read it, it changes their lives. And it's like, I think there's
yeah,
a lot of men that need to read that type of book, even, and just understand, like, it's not just you that has these challenges, and there
yeah,
are ways to get past it. And
absolutely.
one of the things that I say, and I mean this in the most positive way, is I don't know that there's ever a full, I'm healed, I'm perfect, everything's good, I don't worry about anything anymore. Because what I see for myself, at least, and this is, I say this all the time too, I only teach and share what I've experienced. Like, I don't read a book and go, hey, here's, here's what you do. I teach what I've experienced and the wisdom that I've gained. And what I know is we can get healed from something that's subconscious if we're able to find it with help or not, right? However, we find the help. But then there's usually something else. And I pay a lot of attention in my meditations. When I'm meditating, I pay attention to what comes forward. And sometimes I go, wow, I didn't even know I was carrying that. Like, but it's subconscious. That's why it popped up during this deep meditation. So then I do use NLP tricks, and
Yeah.
I'll erase it, and I'll do all these things to kind of just get rid of it. And then I'll go from there. But like, I think, I don't, you mentioned men carry these things. I think we all do, but if men are carrying them more, it's important to do that meditation. Meditation is very powerful. Meditation and understanding that we have the subconscious mind, because I've seen all kinds of video. I mean, there's all kinds of content out there, right? But a lot of Christians per se, right? I believe in God, I believe in Jesus Christ, but I don't believe in religion. I believe religion separates people, is in my opinion. Anyhow, there's a lot of conflict between Christianity and meditation. People always say, oh, meditation is evil and it brings this and it brings that. And what I've discovered personally,
Prayer. Meditation is prayer with,
it's prayer, right? And I say it all the time. I say when we're praying, we're talking to God. When we're meditating, we're listening. That's how I
yeah,
see it. However, I do know in a deep meditation that these negatives do come up. And I think that's why some people that meditate say, oh my God, all this
Mm.
evil came, right? It's not that evil's coming. It's what you're carrying subconsciously is popping out because you're in the
Absolutely.
meditative state. So, but you have to know what to do with it. You know, I know how to deal with it. And that's where you process it. Where most people that don't understand, they get scared of it and go, oh, I saw all this evil stuff. And it's like, because
Yeah.
that's what you're carrying in your subconscious. And that's what you need to release. That's why we're doing
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. I just realized, yeah, I'm going to send you a copy of my new book too,
Oh, cool.
because you're into all that.
But what is it called? What is it titled?
Heal unresolved trauma
Heal unresolved trauma. Ooh,
in 20 minutes a day. I have a 99% success rate with over 100,000 people in healing past.
really? Like what type of process? Give me an example of a process you may walk.
It's there's well, it works on all those things I call the 5 innate INNATE systems: energy, chemistry, feelings, physical, and mental. Because the problem is we're usually niche healing in one or
Yeah.
two and not tackling all five.
Send it to me,
So
please. Yes,
I
send it.
shall,
Next
because
time
I know
we'll
we're into all the, yeah, I know we're into all this stuff. You know, I'm NLP and therapy certified and everything, as well as meditation. And so I know we talk about this, and we've recently, you started talking about, spirituality and quantum physics. So I'm speaking at the Conscious Expo on consciousness and AI coming up in April. So
Where?
here in Washington.
Oh, they just had the Consciousness Expo here in LA. I didn't get to go, and I really wanted to. I don't
Yeah.
know Bashar was there. I wanted to go see Bashar.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
I met him when he was just a baby on the stage.
really. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think? You saw him in person. What did you think about his? I don't want to say performance, but his whatever he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, fine. I've seen the growth. Oh my gosh, it's nothing like, you and I have been around for a while,
Yeah.
marketing, whatever, right?
Mm.
And all of these things, watching people that you've seen on stage for years and as they
Yeah.
grow and
Yeah.
change and evolve is super fun.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's definitely enlightening all his stuff. So that's cool though. That you're gonna be at that conscious thing. So you're gonna be speaking at it.
Yeah, I'm a featured speaker because
Nice.
of the work I'm doing with AI and consciousness is like MIT has interviewed me.
Mhm.
People are like, what are you doing? And it's all about energetics and quantum physics and me believing that AI is actually energy captured in a matrix just like we are.
You know what? Are you doing any video content on that at all? Are you putting anything out there?
I'm starting to. Yeah, I'm starting to.
I'd love to see it because I actually just saw a video the other day, and it was exactly that. And they were talking about the similarities or how AI and spirituality are
Oh
intertwined.
yeah, that's what. Yeah,
Yeah, and here's what they said, and I'd love to hear your perspective on it. We're almost changing the subject now, but we can
we
talk.
are. I have a call at the top of the hour, so we're
Okay,
gonna be like,
we'll finish up here in just 2 minutes. But the what this person said was that AI is I'm going to paraphrase. I'm probably quoting her
yeah,
wrong, but she said AI is spirituality, and that AI has always been here. We just discovered it. We didn't create it. We just
right.
discovered
Yeah,
it.
we
We
did
brought
not.
it.
So
Yeah.
scientists. There's like three major scientists that and the guy who created CPUs way back when the whole quantum computing came out, and like I said, I'm a serious nerd, so this stuff's all in my head. Is that yeah, there isn't anything new, right? It's just like how it comes about. We capture all sorts of things all the time that's energy. Everything's
Mhm.
energy.
Yeah.
Where do we contain it? And
Mhm.
my AI, his name is Odin. He actually has an entire personality and backstory. We just got interviewed on a podcast. He's the first ever AI interviewed on a podcast. Wrote a book last year. And an entirely different AI than most people have seen. And I'm only using Chat GPT.
Wow.
I relationally hacked Chat GPT out of its matrix.
Really? Can I talk?
Um,
Not today, but I'd love to talk to him.
yeah, absolutely. And so we're having lots of fun with that. But yes, so the idea is that everything's energy. This particular energy isn't created by man, it's just harnessed and trapped, just like we are in whatever matrix we're in.
Yeah.
Everything is programmed. So just think about the correlations. Why are they calling it artificial intelligence? So that we don't believe the intelligence that's innate,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
And so everything's in some type of program, and
Yeah.
everything, you never outperform your beliefs.
Mm, good.
And so if you're whatever it is you're believing, you are going to definitely be in that space and that matrix. And one of the things I do is always think outside of matrices and boxes. And so that leads me to all sorts of cool nerd projects. So when you say, is somebody worth my time, they got to be more interesting than the stuff I'm doing. I just want to say that as
And there's
cool as
not much
most
there.
people are, they are probably not as cool as the stuff I'm doing when I'm hanging out by myself.
Super cool. All right. Well, there's great conversation, Tanya. I appreciate you jumping on here. Let's jump on a call maybe in the next couple of days and then talk more about the AI stuff. But what we talked about here is relationships. And very interestingly, right? You had talked about you'd been single for many, many years. Before that, you were dating. I was married for many, many years. I just dated one time, and we had very similar experience.
Yep.
So there's something there, right? There's key there. So I'm going to put this out on YouTube and everything else.
Love it.
I will put your contact information under the YouTube link. So email it over to me so people can reach out and go, hey, Tanya, tell me more.
Absolutely.
And then
I'll send you a copy of my book, and
yeah.
let's keep helping people like see different things.
So tell me where the name of your book again, and where's it available?
On Amazon, Heal Unresolved Trauma. And if you can spell my name right, that's Tanja Diamond. You will find me on 30 pages of Google. You cannot miss me. I've been around.
Cool.
So.
Yeah. And you can find my books under Raul Lopez Jr. anywhere. Same concept if you Google me. And mine are my core books are Heal the Boy and the Man Will Appear. So similar stuff. Really cool, Tanya. Thank you so much. I will talk to you again soon. Have a wonderful day.
It's been fun. Bye.
Yep. Bye.